3,400 people had tapped a little blue button to be Jason's friend. And on a Thursday night in March, he sat alone with a cold cup of coffee and could not name one of them he would call if something went wrong. Not one. He was the funny one, the always yes one, the guy who answered every message within 7 minutes, even at midnight. Everyone liked him. The problem was that the man everyone liked was a costume, and the real person underneath had gone quiet years ago. This is how he stopped being liked by everyone and started being known by someone. Jason was 26 years old, and he had 3,400 friends. That was the number his phone showed him every morning. 3,400 people who had once tapped a little blue button and agreed, in a way, to be in his life. 3,400 people he had spent the last decade trying to keep happy. He was a social media manager at a marketing agency in Austin, Texas. He was the funny one in every group chat, the one who remembered birthdays, the one who said yes when nobody else would, the one who answered every message within 7 minutes, even at midnight, even on Sundays. And on a quiet Thursday in March, he sat alone in his apartment at 9 o'clock at night, holding a cold cup of coffee, and realized something he had been avoiding for a very long time. He didn't actually know which of those 3,400 people he would call if something bad happened. This is the story of a man who was loved by everyone and known by no one. A man who learned that the price of being universally liked is being personally invisible, and the small, terrifying decision that finally let him become a real person again. Jason grew up in a house where approval was currency. His father was a high school basketball coach who praised effort but never weakness. His mother was a kindergarten teacher who told him every single morning that he was such a good boy because he never caused any trouble. By the time Jason was 9, he had learned a simple equation. Make people smile, and you are safe. Stop making them smile, and you disappear. So he made them smile, all of them, his teachers, the kids who were mean to him in middle school, the girl who broke up with him in 10th grade. He learned to read a room the way other kids learned to read a book. He could walk into any group of people and within 30 seconds know exactly what version of himself they wanted and become it. By the time he graduated from the University of Texas, he had a reputation. Jason was the easiest person to be around. Jason never said no. Jason was up for anything. Jason would help you move on a Saturday morning, even if he barely knew you. Jason would lend you $60 and never ask for it back. He took the social media job because it felt like a natural fit. He spent 8 hours a day reading other people's reactions and adjusting his words to fit them. He was good at it. He got promoted twice in 2 years. His coworkers loved him. His clients loved him. His ex-girlfriends still sent him birthday messages. But somewhere around his 25th birthday, something began to crack. It started small. He noticed that when he walked into his own apartment after work, his shoulders dropped 2 inches. He hadn't realized he had been carrying them that high all day. He noticed that the moment he closed his front door, he stopped smiling, and his face felt strange, like a muscle he had been holding tight for hours. He noticed that he didn't know what kind of music he actually liked. He had playlists for every friend group, every coworker, every date, but he had never made a playlist for himself. He noticed that on Friday nights, when he finally had nothing scheduled, he didn't feel free. He felt empty, He would scroll through his phone for an hour before realizing he wasn't looking for anything. He was just waiting for someone to need him so he could become himself again. The thing that finally broke him was a Tuesday morning in early March. His phone buzzed at 6:45 with a message from a college friend named Marcus. Marcus needed help moving on Saturday. Could Jason come? Jason said yes before he had even brushed his teeth. His phone buzzed again at 7. His boss needed him to come in early to handle a client crisis. Jason said yes while he was still in the shower. By the time he sat down at his desk at 8:30, he had said yes to 7 different things, none of which he wanted to do. His Saturday was gone. His Sunday morning was gone. His Wednesday evening was gone. He had agreed to attend the engagement party of a coworker he barely knew. He had agreed to review a friend's screenplay he had not been asked to read. He had agreed to babysit his cousin's kids for free. At 9:45, his coworker Sarah dropped by his desk to ask if he wanted to grab lunch. He said yes. He didn't want lunch with Sarah. He wanted to be alone for 45 minutes. He said yes anyway. At noon, sitting across from her in a sandwich shop, listening to her complain about her boyfriend for the 40th time, Jason felt something inside him quietly collapse, like a wooden beam that had been holding up the ceiling of his entire personality finally gave way. He looked at Sarah, mid-sentence, and realized he had been nodding for 35 minutes without hearing a single word. He realized he didn't know what he thought about her boyfriend. He didn't know what he thought about anything she had said. He didn't know what he thought about anything at all anymore. That night, he sat in his apartment with the lights off, scrolling through his phone. 3,400 friends, 42 unread messages, 16 unanswered DMs. He scrolled through his contacts and tried to imagine which of them he would call if he got really sick, if he got fired, if his parents died. He scrolled, and he scrolled, and he scrolled, and he could not think of a single name. Not because the people weren't kind. They were. Most of them genuinely liked Jason, but Jason had never let any of them know what he actually thought, or wanted, or feared. He had spent 15 years giving them a perfect mirror of themselves. They didn't know him. They knew their own reflection. He put the phone face down on the coffee table and started to cry. The kind of quiet, almost confused, crying you do when you didn't realize you were sad until your body told you. The next morning, he did something he had never done in his entire adult life. He sent a message to his boss saying he was taking a sick day. He didn't give a reason. He didn't apologize. He just said, "I need today." His boss replied, "Of course, take care of yourself," with a heart emoji. The world did not end. He sat at his small kitchen table in his pajamas with a cup of coffee and a yellow legal pad. At the top of the page, he wrote a question that felt almost dangerous. What do I actually want? He stared at it for 40 minutes. He drew small circles in the margin. He got up twice and made more coffee, and then very slowly he started writing. He wrote that he didn't want to go to Marcus's move on Saturday. He wrote that he didn't want to read his friend's screenplay. He wrote that he didn't actually like his job. He liked being good at his job, which was a different thing. He wrote that he had wanted to learn to play guitar since he was 12. He had bought one when he was 19. It was still in the closet, untouched. He wrote that he had a recipe for chili that his grandmother taught him, and he had never once made it just for himself. Because what was the point of making chili if there was nobody to feed? He wrote that he was lonely. The kind of lonely you can only be when you are surrounded by people all the time. The lonely of being a mirror that gets used by everyone and seen by nobody. He wrote for 3 hours. By the end, the yellow page was full, and he was exhausted in a way he had not been in years. Not the tired of doing too much, the tired of finally letting something out. The next day, he started doing something small. He said no, just once, to start. His friend Derek texted, asking if Jason could pick him up from the airport on Sunday at 6 in the morning. Jason looked at the message for a long time. He typed yes. He deleted it. He typed sorry, can't this time. He stared at it. His heart was beating like he was about to commit a crime. He hit send. Derek replied, "No worries, man. I'll grab an Uber." That was it. That was the whole confrontation. The world did not end. Derek did not block him. The earth did not crack open. Jason sat on his couch and laughed out loud because he realized he had been carrying around a fear that did not match reality. Over the next month, he said no 11 more times, each one easier than the last. He said no to the engagement party. He said no to the screenplay. He said no to lunch with Sarah, 3 Fridays in a row, until Sarah stopped asking and started inviting other people instead, which turned out to be fine. He made his grandmother's chili on a Saturday afternoon. He ate it sitting alone at his kitchen table while listening to a band he discovered he actually loved, which turned out to be old country music, which surprised him. He picked up the guitar. He was terrible at it. He kept practicing. He started a small group text with 3 people, not 3,400. 3. His college roommate Anthony, his older sister Beth, a coworker named Devin, who had once told Jason that Jason seemed lonely, and Jason had laughed it off, but had never forgotten it. He told them, one night, what he had been hiding, that he was not the easygoing one, that he was tired, that he didn't know who he was anymore, that he wanted to. They did not laugh. They did not unfriend him. Anthony called him the next morning, and they talked for an hour. Beth flew down from Dallas the following weekend. Devin brought him a bottle of bourbon at work on Monday and said, "Took you long enough." 1 no felt impossible. 11 no's in a month felt strange. By the end of the year, every small no had become a quiet door, and behind those doors he had found a guitar he could finally play, an evening that belonged to him, and 3 people who finally knew his name. It turned out 3 real people was infinitely more than 3,400 mirrors. 2 years later, Jason still had a social media job, but at a smaller agency. He had moved into a 1-bedroom apartment with a window that got afternoon light. He had a guitar that he played badly and a chili recipe that he made every other Sunday. He had a girlfriend named Hannah who had met him at a bookstore and had liked him because he disagreed with her about a book they had both just read, which had never happened to him before. His phone showed a different number now. Not 3,400, about 200. He had quietly unfollowed, unfriended, and let go of every person he had been performing for who had never once known him. It was the smallest number he had carried since he was 9 years old, and he had never felt more loved. If you have spent your life being the easy one, the nice one, the one who never causes trouble, please hear this. The version of you that everyone likes is not you. It is a costume. It is exhausting. And the people who only love the costume are not your people. They are your audience. The terrifying truth is this. The moment you start saying no, some people will leave, And the people who stay will be the only ones who ever actually knew you in the first place. 3,400 friends is not love. 3 real people is. Before you leave Jason here, notice the quietest lesson in his story. He did not become honest by becoming cruel. He did not heal by suddenly telling everyone exactly what was wrong with them. That is not courage. Sometimes that is just pain looking for a microphone. Jason's real courage was smaller and harder. He began telling the truth without turning it into a weapon. The first week, he told a friend, "I cannot come tonight, I need to rest." No excuse, no fake emergency, no paragraph of apology, just the truth. He spent the next 2 hours staring at his phone, waiting for punishment. None came. The second week, someone made a joke he did not like, and instead of laughing to keep the room smooth, he said, "I know you did not mean it badly, but I do not like that one." The room went quiet for 3 seconds. 3 seconds can feel like an hour when your whole identity depends on approval. But then the conversation moved on. That was the discovery. Most people are not destroyed by your honesty. They are simply surprised because you trained them to expect your performance. And if you want a real life, you have to survive disappointing the false version of yourself that everyone got used to. Jason lost a few invitations. He gained something better. He gained evenings that belonged to him. He gained 2 friends who asked better questions. He gained the ability to hear his own thoughts without immediately editing them for the room. If this story spoke to you, do one small thing today. Say no just once to something you don't actually want to do. Watch how the world does not end. Watch how something inside you begins to come back. Subscribe if you want more stories about people who finally stopped performing and started living. Because the quiet ones, the easy ones, the always yes ones, your story isn't over. It's just beginning.